Hey, it's Meredith with Aviana Aircraft Detailing. In today's episode, we are in Flint, Michigan. We're working on this TBM. It's a beautiful TBM. It's got some vibrant colors. I got here a little bit late, so it's Friday at noon. I was supposed to get in last night, but my flight got canceled, so a little bit behind time-wise. But I'm also here till Monday morning, so I have all night Sunday to work as well. The TBM, as you can see, or as you know, is a turboprop, much like the Meridians that we do a lot of. It's got a lot of the same staining as Meridians do. So if you wanted to check out episode 20, I talk in great detail about how to wash a turboprop. We're gonna do the same process here. I'm probably just not gonna film as much of it, but the TBM is kind of known for its exhaust streak on the right-hand side here. You can see it all on the wing, and it ends up on the fuselage. And this fairing up here, this is a composite piece. Those usually get hammered. So it's going to be a good deal to get this coated early on before that composite piece gets damaged. In addition, you know, with all these bright colors, you're going to be a little bit more susceptible to swirling or like wash-induced scratches, that kind of stuff. So we're going to do a one-step paint correction over the whole thing. That's going to make these colors really pop. It's going to remove some water spotting that we have on here as well. I advise against wet washing with a hose because an airplane this size is going to be very difficult to dry. And as the water evaporates, instead it leaves behind minerals and whatever else that water has dissolved, and that causes staining. So that's why we like no rinse washing. So we're going to address that as well. We're going to do some brightwork polishing. So we're going to polish the handles, polish the spinner, get those shining like a mirror, and then the boots are going to get taken care of as well. We're going to jump inside, clean the leather, coat the leather. And of course, I don't think I mentioned yet, we're going to ceramic coat the whole plane so that all this hard work we're putting into cleaning and paint correcting to restore that finish, so it's protected and so it's easier to wash. The easier it is to wash, the less you're going to touch it, the less chances for swirling and scratches. So that's kind of the plan. That's the gig here. I'm going to get started with the wash. I got some no-rinse diluted up. Again, if you're curious about that part of the process, episode 20 goes into a lot of detail. I'll touch base with you guys once I start paint correction. I'm going to do a few test areas and come up with a good process. But yeah, a lot of work. Excited to share it with you, but I need to get to work. So I did a few test areas. It turns out the usual one-step hyper polish yellow pad rotary is working really well. We're getting rid of any light staining that might be on there. Light swirls and scratches, that kind of stuff is coming out nicely as well. You can see the swirls going away on the before and afters. Left side of the fuselage is done. I'm wrapping around, going to work my way back. It's been a long travel day. If I can finish the fuselage polishing, I'll be pretty happy with progress for the day. I might try and get the underside polished as well, depending on how I feel. but it's probably going to be an earlier night to try and recoup some of that lost sleep, and then it's going to be 2 more full and long days, so I kind of have to pace myself. It's a longer campaign. It's not a single battle. But yeah, paint correction's going well. I'm going to keep working down there, and hopefully by tomorrow morning we'll be ready to start coating the fuselage. Fuselage is polished, except for the underside. Not going to do that tonight. It is 8:03. Let's say it's 8 o'clock. Means it's 7 o'clock Iowa time. Remember, I got up at 3:30, was on the road by 4, so that's a pretty long duty day, and I feel pretty good about not doing any more work today. So I'm going to pick up a little bit, check into my hotel, maybe eat, maybe not, and I'll be back tomorrow. But I got a good head start on it, and the paint correction's going well, so we'll finish the underside tomorrow morning and then start coating the fuselage. Till then, good night. So beginning of day 2, the plane was put outside because some other airplanes had to be moved around, so I got to actually look at it in the sun. It looks really good. The fuselage got polished last night. I still need to do the underside of the fuselage, so I'll start with that. Then I'm gonna hop up there, get the top of the vertical stabilizer, and then we'll actually start coating. So I'm gonna coat the fuselage first, then we'll move on to the wings. So hopefully, coating takes a long time on these planes. Hopefully by like 6 p.m., 6 to 8 p.m., the fuselage will be coated. Then I'll take a little break probably, grind on the wings, and see where we get. So we're doing okay schedule-wise. It's not great, but we're doing okay. So I'm gonna get underneath there, get dirty, and make that bottom shine. Glasses, very important. When you're working underneath the plane, you don't want stuff dripping in your eyes. Now the thing that helps with that is using the foam, right? See? The foam has some, let's try that again. See? Foam sticks. So it doesn't drip down, get the floor all slippery. Because when you're on your creeper, you're trying to kind of pedal around, your boots keep slipping on the floor, it's just annoying. So this helps. And it's a really good cleaner on top of that. So you're not spraying stuff up, having to land back down. It's sticking, it's cleaning where you need it to go, and you don't use as much product too, so that's cool. I'm gonna get underneath. I have an ancient creeper that I believe the Wright brothers used when they were working on their airplanes, but it's got these weird steel casters that work really, really, really well actually. So with the normal like hard plastic wheels, you hit a tiny little rock and the whole thing just stops. So kind of liking it. I don't like the ergonomics, but I like that it actually rolls around. Anyway, why are we talking about creepers? Let's get underneath there and get it cleaned up, and then we'll start polishing. So even after all that cleaning, there's still pollution that stays on that paint, especially exhaust. It just penetrates in there and it doesn't come out. So I'm going to show you, this is what the polishing pad looks like before polishing. Note its color. Now I'm going to polish the underside and then we'll check back in so you can see how much pollution it has pulled out. After cleaning, right? You just saw me clean this. So there's the after. That's all stuff that was just in the paint. These pads lose their efficiency when they're dirty, so we have to frequently wash them or just cycle between clean pads. Otherwise you're not getting quite the paint correction that you started off with. Now this plane doesn't have a lot of oxidation, but if it did, in addition to removing that staining, we're also removing the oxidation. So now you have oxidized paint loading up your pad as well, and then your pad turns into a mess real quickly. So we're lucky in this case that it's just staining coming off. If it was really oxidized as well, we would also see some paint residue in there, which would further compromise this pad's ability to do good paint correction. So big part of paint correction is managing residue. So I'm gonna swap pads and get back to it. So one of the problems working up there is batteries always run out. So my headlamp battery died. Experience did tell me to swap the tool battery first, so that one's fresh, headlamp died, whatever. Second problem is if the plane was backed in and the nose wheel isn't perfectly aligned, the rudder is going to be not aligned as well. And when that happens, it makes it a little bit more difficult to polish. So I'm going to move the nose wheel manually and get it to line up better so we have an easier time polishing up there. Here we go. That's all it takes. Just those few degrees make a big difference up there. See why I didn't want to do this last night? That's work. So you notice that rudder trim is not perfectly aligned. So even though we adjusted the rudder to make sure that was flush, rudder trim is something I don't mess with. This airplane produces a lot of torque, and the way the air moves around it, airplanes are going to have a tendency to turn left. So you put in right rudder. What the trim does, it kind of applies some of that right rudder for you, so you don't have to work as hard. If I mess with that trim and get it perfectly even, and the pilot takes off not knowing that got changed, he's going to have a surprise because that airplane's suddenly going to want to turn left. So that's why I don't mess with that. If you notice that that part wasn't quite aligned, that's why. Next step is to panel wipe the whole plane. So we're going to use an alcohol solution, wipe off any oils, or polishing oils, any residue that might be left behind, and then after that we coat it. Now, I haven't had lunch yet, and it's like 3:30, so I'm going to take a little break, cool down a little bit, and then we'll jump right back in and get going with the fuselage. Screwed up. So look at this. See that tiny little cloud? Another one, where is it? Up here. So that is what a high spot looks like. As hot and humid as it is, the coating cures faster. So I applied some coating there. The first towel went around, got the excess off. The second towel is supposed to get that kind of stuff off, which in that case I failed to remove it. So, being that it's hot and humid, that cured into a solid, tough ceramic coating, which is why we installed this product. However, now I have to take the polisher out and aggressively go after that to remove it. And that, boys and girls, is why you want someone experienced to do this. And that's also why you can't buy this coating, or at least this specific version, because it's really hard to remove if you screw it up. The other thing with airplanes, being as big as they are, you really need to think 2 or 3 panels ahead on how you're going to apply that coating, how far can you stretch that coating per application, in terms of like how big of a panel can I do in one go. And that's again why you want to hire someone experienced to do this. There's easier coatings out there you can do this with. We just don't like coating airplanes enough to use an easier coating because they usually don't last as long. So that's why we use this difficult coating to get that really long durability. But also every now and then you screw up, and it's important to be able to recognize that and spot it. That's why I got this light on. So I'm going to grab the polisher, fix my screw up, and then keep going. So for the initial paint correction, we use the soft yellow pad. We're using a wool pad to fix the screw up because that coating is so much harder. Now because we're using this aggressive pad to remove the coating, we're also putting holograms behind. So now I'm going to go back over it with a softer pad to take the holograms out and make sure the finish matches the rest of the airplane. So here's the softer pad, which by itself may or may not remove the coating. So that's why we just go aggressive, default aggressive. And problem solved. Now we can carry on with coating. But yeah, that's why it's important to pay attention when you're doing this, and you can kind of predict where these mistakes happen. So generally, if I'm working this section, any place I'm going to have overlap, that's usually where you miss stuff. So when I'm coating, if this is the section I did, I just go ahead and add another 10-20% to my wiping, just to make sure I pick up any excess like that. Done. Well, underside is done. Underside of the fuselage is done. There's still a lot of underside left. It is 11:10. I could take a break, but I'll probably just get lazy then. So I'll just keep going. So we're gonna wash the tops of the wings and then polish the tops of the wings, and if I feel really motivated, polish the tops, or wash the tops of the horizontal stabilizer and then polish that. But honestly, if I get the wings washed and like one of them polished, I'll be happy. It's been a long day one, but that'll be a good stopping point. At least having them washed, having one of them polished. So that's what I'm gonna do. So I forgot something. Flap's gotta come down so we can actually clean that part. So let's go inside. This door is very slippery now. Flaps are going down and battery off. See, all of this is extra that we wouldn't be able to reach had the flaps not been down. So now we can start washing the wing. Good morning, it is Sunday. I didn't film a whole lot last night because I got the whole wing done, the top of the wing. This is all coated, polished and coated. I tried filming with like the GoPro right here and showing that process, but it got really shaky, so I think it might get people motion sick. I'll show a little bit of it, but this is all coated, super smooth, looks beautiful. So I'm gonna jump over to the other side, do the same thing there, and then get the underside of both wings. Then we're gonna do the elevator up here, get that polished and coated. That should be pretty easy. And then we're gonna go inside, work on the interior, work on the boots, work on the spinner, door handles, that kind of stuff. So a lot of work left, but it's 9:22 a.m. on Sunday. My flight leaves at 6 a.m. on Monday, so we got a decent, we got like 2.5 normal people work days left, so we'll get it done. Let's start with the other wing. So this part is coated now. It's incredibly slick. The way you can tell where your boundaries are of what is coated, what isn't, is you just feel it. So if I push back, I can feel that right about here I've coated when I coated from the backside, and this needs to be done still. Better way to show you is, so this bottle was sitting here. If we put it here, it's gonna slide. And then it stops. So that's another great way to visualize where it is. This is a filled bottle, so that's why I'm not letting it slide all the way. But basically we just take the coating, and I can feel the applicator slide once I hit that area up there where it's already coated. So then I just push a little bit further, get a nice overlap, then come back, get the edges. Then we use our wipe down towels. The first one gets the excess liquid off. And because we have a boot here, we're actually gonna push right along this edge to make sure we don't get any on the boots. Then we use a second towel, which is a little bit cleaner. Get the rest of the coating residue off. And like I said earlier, you always wanna go over areas you already coated and make sure you don't get any overlap. So just gonna wipe another 20% beyond what you just coated, just to make sure. And now this is also slippery. These seats are perforated, right? So you see that part's perforated, that part isn't. One of the things with perforated seats is you want to minimize the amount of liquid you use because you don't want that soaking in there. As it soaks in, it can laterally move through the leather and cause some issues. So especially important in this case to use a foam. These foams are much drier, right? Kind of spread it on there. Don't need very much. And this is that scrubber. So it's got the tiny little hairs on there. We're using this one instead of the long bristled one because the texture on this leather is a lot finer. So we don't need the nail brush looking deal. We're just going to agitate it gently. Take a towel, dry towel, microfiber towel, and wipe off any of the grime we just liberated. To make it more dramatic, let me just clean half here so you can see it a little bit better. So there's the difference, right? You can see clean, dirty. Again, this is a new plane. It's such a subtle difference. Okay, so just because this is so satisfying to do, we're going to do another little kind of corner before and after. Let me show you a little bit better. So we're going to get foam. That's way too much foam. Then get our towel. Et voila. Now that everything is cleaned, we're going to protect it. As satisfying as cleaning leather is, we don't want to do it all the time, so we're applying this coating, which will help it repel things like blue jean dye or body oils, that kind of stuff. And even though it goes on a little bit shiny, when it dries, it's actually a matte finish, just like the OEM material. I have a great little experiment going with this on my wallet. So I re-dyed my wallet reddish, and then I coated part of it with this coating, and I'll put in a picture in this video here. You can see on the far right hand side, it's just a little bit lighter. I've been wearing this wallet in these jeans that stain really badly. The blue jean dyes transfers quite a bit. It even turns your receipts blue after like a day. So you can see it is it's keeping it cleaner without cleaning it, but also when you clean it, it's a lot easier. So that's what we're doing here. Then when we're done with that, we are gonna go polish the spinner, I think. Or maybe we'll do the boots first. Yeah, we'll do the boots first. So we're stripping the boots using PBS boot prep. This takes off any old sealants that might be on there and leaves us a nice clean surface for putting new sealant on. Now, if you're someone who has done this before, you might think, yeah, why aren't you taping? You should be taping so you don't make a mess. Well, the problem is, after we coat it, tape doesn't really want to stick. And yes, I do make a mess sometimes. You can see up here. Let me zoom in. Because it's coated, comes right off. So here's my dilemma. I wanted to tape this off, like the paint, and then do it with a machine. but with the coating, masking tape doesn't stick. So we're doing it by hand. And of course I'm just going to do half of it by hand so you can see before and after. Here's before. See that stuff? That's oxidation. Here's after. Done. It is late enough for my watch to have died. 2:16. My flight is at 6 a.m. So I'm gonna pack up, take some beauty shots, of course. She is beautiful. And go take a shower as a courtesy to the other passengers and go home. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you know anyone that's got a TBM that doesn't look this good, share the video and it can look this good as well. Subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time.